Hey everybody, I'm Steve.
And I'm Audra. We've been working on this van build for about 2 years now, and we're finally on the home stretch. Today, we're adding something that's going to give us more function in our van.
One of the last remaining things we need to do is install a swivel table. Now, if you've done any bit of research, you realize one of the more popular methods is the Lagun mount table, but they're also on the pricey side.
So if you've watched any of our videos, you know we like to keep our costs down as much as possible. So today, our goals are to do this as cheaply as we can, to make sure it's stable, and to make sure it works well for our needs here in the van.
So today, we're going to install our table right here.
So stick around and see how we do it.
So one of the nice things about using this area to install your table is that there are pre-drilled holes from the factory. I'm going to utilize those to attach my wooden base. As with any other aspect of the van build, what I found most useful is to start out with a cardboard template, which I have already fashioned to fit in this area. And I think what I'm going to do is follow kind of the natural curve of the plastic. So I've cut my template out like that, use that as a guide. I'm going to transfer that over to a piece of wood. So this is our stockpile of wood, and I think I've identified a piece that will work just fine. Alright, I'm going to take my template and trace my cutout onto the wood. Now that I have the template traced onto the wood, I'm just going to go ahead and make my cut. Alright, after a little bit of research, I have found out that these holes are M6-1.0 by 40 millimeter. So I'm going to show you now how best to find where those holes are going to land on your piece of wood. So just take your screw and completely screw it into the hole. Next, take a little bit of paint and just put it right on the screw head. Then take your piece of wood, put it in place, lightly compress it against the screw head, and that'll transfer the paint onto the wood. And now you can pre-drill the hole with confidence. Of course, you're going to want to do this for both screws. Now that I've got both holes pre-drilled, let's see how I did. Alright, I believe I nailed it. Or in this case, screwed it. So what I want to do next is mount a 2-foot 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe to my wood back, and I'm going to attach that with a 1-hole strap like so. And this will give me my base in which to install metal piping for the table itself. And now for the piece that will actually sit inside of the PVC pipe, I have a 6-inch piece of 1-inch galvanized pipe attached to a 90-degree elbow, attached to an 18-inch 1-inch galvanized pipe, and then attached to that is what's called a 90-degree street elbow. It's got a female end on the one end and a male end on the other. and this will attach to the floor flange that we'll have attached to the tabletop. And I'll show you that a little bit later. So the pipe assembly simply will sit inside the PVC pipe and then can swivel. So now that we have everything attached, I know it's working as it should. I'm going to take everything apart. I'm going to give the wood a quick coat of paint and probably the PVC some paint as well. I think for now we're going to leave the pipe as it is because it kind of matches our hardware inside the van. We may change our mind down the road and give them some paint as well, but for now we'll keep it as it is.
As Steve is working on the mount, I'm going to work on the tabletop here. As you can see, this piece is not perfect. It's one we found laying around in the garage. It's got some scuff marks in it and some other imperfections, and it wasn't the best piece to begin with. It had some bad edges. So we trimmed it down, we've been sanding it, and we're just going to try it. We have nothing to lose since we already had the piece. Last night I did some testing. We thought we were going to stain this, but after testing some wood with the stain, this is the stain we have that I thought we liked. Tried that here, but we think it's too dark. So turns out what I'm going to try to do instead is what we've done already in the van before with our ceiling. I'm going to use this paint, which is a sample from Home Depot, that I'm going to dilute with water, and then essentially I'm going to try to do a wash that's like a stain. So instead of an oil-based traditional stain, I'm going to do a paint stain, and it should look a little bit more like this. So I'm just making a wash here, and it's hard to know how diluted I should do it. I'm not sure how this is going to work. I'm not sure if the wood's going to absorb this well. Last night when I tested it, it kind of sits on the surface a little bit, but we'll see. Let us know how you think it's going to turn out. So I'm just finishing up painting the tabletop here. I did three coats of the paint wash up on the top, and I think it's actually turned out pretty decently. And now I'm just painting the edges because the edge, you could see the layers before in the wood, so I'm using a little bit thicker paint, less diluted, to finish up the edges. And then that'll be a wrap. I just have to do polyurethane then.
Alright, after a few coats of paint, I think we're ready for the final install. Just in time.
I think it's ready to go, and I think it looks pretty good.
Let's do this. Alright, this is the floor flange I mentioned earlier. It's a 1-inch floor flange, and it fits nicely on top of the street elbow. Alright, look at that. We've got our own DIY Lagun table.
I think we should test it out. All right, look. It's perfect for a workspace. We even figured out that my mouse pad would fit here. And we can turn it, and there's room for both of us to work.
And, of course, plenty of room for dinner time.
So, for $60, around $60, I think it turned out pretty well. What do you think? Let us know. Reminder, check out our other videos. We've got playlists for our van build and all of our travel.